Arvinder, can you open your video, please? Yeah.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here presenting at this one of its kind hybrid PSSI 2021. My topic for today is coaptation stenting, and in next few minutes, I will be briefly taking you through the steps involved in the same. Coaptation accounts for 4 to 7% of all congenital heart disease. Many of these cases remain undiagnosed until late childhood or adulthood. Balloon angioplasty was first introduced in 1980s as a form of treatment for coaptation, and in 1990s, stent therapy was introduced to treat recurrent coaptation. The indication for treatment we all know include heart failure, coaptation peak gradient more than 20 millimeters of mercury, presence of upper limb hypertension, and more than mild residual or recurrent transcatheter coaptation pressure gradients, among others. Stenting is indicated for older children and adults in presence of resting hypertension and symptoms of headache and claudication. Long tubular narrowing or complex arch obstructions are dealt better with stenting compared to surgery. Stenting is preferable for children weighing more than 25 kg in case of coaptation. Stent offers its own advantages over ballooning. They offer better luminal diameter, minimal residual pressure gradient, sustained hemodynamic benefit, prevents vascular recoil, thus preventing recoaptation, and can tack integral flap to the aortic valve, thus reducing the risk of dissection and aneurysm formation. Procedure planning remains the mainstay of any procedure, and it involves assessment of the lesion, choosing the proper hardware, and procedural consideration. The lesion is assessed using pre-procedure imaging in the form of CT angiography or MR or conventional angiography. CT remains the mainstay. Imaging should define the transverse arch and the isthmus, should define the type of lesion, relation of the left subclavian artery to the quad segment, presence of ductus arteriosus and aneurysms, and aortic diameter should be measured at the transverse arch and at the level of the diaphragm. The image on the left is a CT angio image which shows a moderate coaptation with left subclavian right next to the quad. The central image shows a tight coaptation again with the subclavian artery right next to it. Whereas the image on the right shows a complex coaptation with the tortuous quad segment, isthmal hypoplasia, and the transverse arch. These are the angiographic views of the coaptation, and in the left anterior oblique views. Hardware involves sheaths, wires, and stents and balloon. Balloon sheath is the sheath used for stent deployment. The sheath size is mainly 2 French more than the recommended sheath size for the desired balloon diameter. Softer tip wires like thermo wires are used to cross the lesion, whereas stiffer wires like emblazoned extra stiff or super stiff wires or lambda twist wires are used for supporting the stent during deployment. Stent is an intraluminal graft of stainless steel that allows dilatation of the stenotic lesion and provides an endoprosthesis to prevent recoil of the arterial wall. An ideal stent should be highly flexible, have low profile, should be dilatable to adult size, should have minimal foreshortening, high radial strength, non-sharp edges. Stents are available in closed cell designs, open cell design, and hybrid design. Closed cell stents are strong, rigid, less conformable, but they markedly foreshorten. Whereas open cell stents have more flexibility, they adapt better to our shape, they foreshorten less. Whereas hybrid stents combine the advantages of both these designs. Stents may be made from stainless steel, platinum iridium alloy, or chromium cobalt alloy. They may be bare or covered. PTFE covering is used in a covered stent. These are the various types of stents available. CP, Andra, Formula, and Palmer's Genesis remain the main stents. Formula stents are available in smaller diameters. CP stent is a balloon expandable stent and available both as a bare stent and a cover stent. It is 90% platinum and 10% iridium metal alloy. Mainly involves a 0.01 inch metal alloy arranged in a zig pattern, 6 zig or 8 zig pattern. It enables expansion up to 25 millimeters. Available in lengths of 34 to 45 millimeters, thus providing adequate covering for the coaptation. Foreshortens less and is slightly more flexible and has rounded edges. Provides excellent radial spread and optimal resistance support. It is available both as an unmounted and pre-mounted stent and both in bare and cover forms. Balloon used for coaptation are high pressure balloons. Dip balloon is the commonly used balloon. It is a balloon catheter, which involves an outer balloon and an inner balloon. The inner balloon has a length less than 1 centimeter of the outer balloon and an outer diameter half that of the outer balloon. Same as the other high pressure balloon used for stenting of the valve. Procedure is done preferably under general anesthesia. Pre-procedure antibiotic prophylaxis is administered and IV heparin of 75 to 120 per kg is given. Femoral arterial access is the preferred access as it allows larger sheaths and complex lesions can be adequately treated. A soft wire is initially used to cross the port segment and it is then exchanged with a stiffer wire used for stent deployment. Occasionally, it may be difficult to cross the lesion from the descending aorta. In such cases, an radial or brachial artery access is used to integrately cross the lesion, and then the wire is subsequently exteriorized to the femoral sheath. A detailed angiogram is done to define the lesion as well as to measure the aortic dimension at the level of the diaphragm and the transverse arch. The stiff wire position for stent deployment is usually in the right subclavian artery or in the ascending aorta with a big groove so as to provide proper support in the straighter route during stent deployment. Occasionally, it may be deployed in the left. Occasionally, it may be placed in the left subclavian artery when the same is at quite a distance from the port segment, as it provides a straighter route for stent deployment. Stent diameter is based on the diameter of the transverse distal arch, with the diameter not exceeding the size of the aorta at the level of the diaphragm. The length should cover the entire lesion extending from the left subclavian artery to approximately 15 mm beyond the side of the port pitch. Longer balloons allow for good stable deployment, whereas shorter balloons there is a higher risk of stent embolization. An unwanted stent has to be crimped onto the balloon catheter. Minimal inflation of balloon while post-crimping is done to provide adequate stent balloon traction to prevent stents slippage during advancement through the sheath. A guide wire is inserted into the distal end of the balloon catheter while crimping to avoid compromising the lumen of the catheter. The dip balloon is a preferred balloon as it involves for controlled stent expansion. It has an ability to adjust stent position following inner balloon expansion. Higher sheath size is needed for the dip balloon. For smaller children, the lower sheath size are preferred as cement balloon may be used. Prior to full uncovering, repeated injections can be made from the side port of the sheath to confirm the stent position. And only once the position is confirmed, the expansion of the stent is done. This is the Rayner balloon has been infected first, the position is confirmed, and subsequently the outer balloon is being infected and the stent is being deployed. Occasionally, post-deployment, a waste may remain. A small waste remaining does not need further expansion, whereas a significant stent requires significant waste remaining. The balloon may be, the stent may again be dilated with the same balloon by inflating only the outer balloon, or a high pressure balloon may be used to get rid of this waste. For stenting not involving a big balloon, an optimal stent position can be done by using covering the proximal balloon with a delegation and slowly expanding the distal balloon, and then pulling out the sheath of the balloon catheter and deploying the complete stent. Pre-dilatation of the region is usually not done as it has a higher incidence of aortic wall abnormalities. RV pacing may be performed in cases of mild coarctation or in cases of transverse aortic arch. Success of the procedure is defined as a gradient less than 10 mm mercury or a vessel caliber more than 80% of the normal adjacent aortic arch. Covered stents are usually indicated in the presence of critical or subarachnoid obstructions, or when the coarctation is associated with patent ductus arteriosus.
Dr. Manvinder, we are running out of time.
Degenerative changes or weakening of the vesicle.
Sir, it is a pre-recorded talk.
It may be used as a bailout following balloon dilatation or breast stenting complications, or in presence of previous stents with flexures in malalignment or stud protrusion in the aortic wall. Occasionally, inherent operator fear of aortic rupture also indicates use of covered stents. These are the places where covered stents have been used in presence of complication of the previous balloon dilatation of stenting. Complication of stenting includes dissection, aneurysms, recurrent stenosis, stent fractures, stent malposition and vascular injury access, vascular injury at the axis sites, cerebrovascular accidents.
Accelerate the presentation.
The CISA study and the post-trial shows good long-term outcome of coarctation stenting with minimal incidence of complications. So to summarize, the use of stent in children with and adults with coarctation is safe and associated with persistent relief of aortic obstruction. Pre-procedure planning is very important and includes pre-procedure CT imaging. Early and late aortic aneurysm are known to occur and require long-term vigilance. Stent fractures can occur and can also progress with time. Thank you very much for a very, very patient hearing.